Talking Music with Big Andy. Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Music with Big Andy. And this week I have with me the band Hunting for Wolves. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi, Andy.
Well, nice to see you. Now, I normally have this thing, and it seems to be that the bands I'm looking at, the bands I've chosen for the first 3 or 4 interviews, I've had this same thing with. Normally, I like to go online and do as much in-depth research about the band as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So far, I've been able to find out that you are a post-hardcore band,
Yeah.
and you come from Essex, and you've got some music on Spotify.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's about it. That's about all I've managed to find out about you. So, tell me about yourselves. How did you all come together? How did it all get started?
So a number of years ago, me and another friend were looking to start a band, just because we hadn't been in one for a while. We met up with Alex. Alex joined. That was some time ago. Alex is our drummer.
Yep.
And basically, we've been going for a number of years now. But we've kind of recently had quite a big lineup change insofar as half of our lineup has changed. And we've got Will, who's our new guitarist, and we've also got a new bassist, another one called Will. They both joined sort of early last year.
Right, cool. And you put out, was it an EP or 2 tracks, or was it 2 singles?
2 singles, yeah.
2 singles. When did you put them out? Was it last year?
Remus was October 2021, and Monsters was the very start of COVID and lockdowns. That was sort of May 2020, I think. So interesting time to be music.
Yeah. It's amazing the amount of bands that I've actually interviewed on the show and that I've talked to who kind of started off just as the COVID thing happened, and they've had to try and build themselves a following through the whole lockdown thing, which was almost impossible. So whereabouts are you from? You're from Essex, but whereabouts in Essex?
Mostly around sort of West Essex, Chelmsford, Colchester kind of way. So yeah, that sort of area.
So have you been playing lots of live gigs around that area then?
No, mostly London, really.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in London have you been able to play?
What have we done? Water Rats.
Yeah.
New Cross Inn. There's a few places in Camden.
Islington as well. We played quite a few times.
Yes.
It's quite a nice venue to play in. It's a place in Leytonstone called Luna, which is a really nice venue to play as well. Really nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of our fan base are around Leyton, which is strange because I know we said it was like Chelmsford, Colchester, but I think we can get into this a bit later, but the original members from a few years back were sort of Woodford area, and Leyton and a lot of London gigs was quite easy for us, but we've kind of drifted In Essex.
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, I've listened to your music, and I like the two songs you've got up. I really like those. Is the music you're doing now the same, or have you changed now that you've had a lineup change?
It's getting heavier, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between the two tracks is quite sort of illustrative of what we're doing. So, like, Monsters is kind of more on the pop punky kind of side of things. It's a bit more accessible.
Right.
And then you got Remus, and Remus is definitely very metal orientated, metalcore kind of influences on that. And we're kind of progressing in that direction. So, like, with Will now, he's definitely from like a, you know, heavy metal background, and that's really influenced. And Alex has always been kind of massively influenced by very heavy bands. So
I was going to ask actually what sort of music influenced you and influences you now, and what what sort of things were you listening to when you came, you know, that made you want to come into music, and what are your influences now?
Who's first?
I mean, when I first started, the reason I learned guitar at all was because of the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Right?
And I basically self-taught for the first couple of years, just playing along to Red Hot Chili Peppers and obviously some other stuff like that. But more and more, I've grown to like heavier stuff, like particularly British heavy stuff, like Funeral for a Friend and Fight Star, Bring Me the Horizon, things like that. So they're massive influences for me, definitely.
Okay.
And I certainly started. I think I was, I suppose, like professionally taught, if that's such a thing. I basically had drum lessons. Certainly not professional, but I had drum lessons when I first started playing drums, sort of about 10 maybe. And then as I started to get more accustomed to the different styles of music out there, it very quickly went into sort of like Deftones, Slipknot, sort of like 90s, early 2000s type metal for me. And then that's always been my listening sort of go-to genre. Obviously, as new bands come onto the scene, I start liking them. So like Of Mice and Men and bands like that. So that's definitely been my influence to the type of drumming, and I just aspire to that sort of very technical.
Yeah.
Drumming. So I'll eventually get there. Not yet.
So I started playing guitar around 8, 9, 10, 8 kind of age. And I started playing, I was a huge Green Day diehard fan of Green Day, and just went on to Avenged Sevenfold, to Of Mice and Men, to all those kind of metal bands. And my influences from there was Sinister Gates, love his solos, and
Interested to see the fact that your list is being post-hardcore, because I'm not quite sure exactly what that means.
to describe
it's kind of like a because it's kind of like a blanket thing post-hardcore for like heavy music that was in the early 2000s. I think a lot of bands use post-hardcore. Obviously, it's developed into more of a niche kind of sound. Like it definitely has its own tone. But back in the day, from the bands that we're influenced by, those were post-hardcore bands, and we identify obviously massively with those. But I mean, there's obviously loads of heavy metal influences and particularly new metal in some of the newer stuff we're doing. You know, it kind of feels like we were in a place where we're trying to write what we thought other people might like, and then now it's more like what sounds really, really heavy to us, and what if 20 years ago we stuck some headphones on, would we listen to it? We'd be like, yeah, that's really, really catchy, that's good. So that's more the direction we're going.
The thing about it is, if you're playing it on stage, you've got to be interested in listening and like playing it, because otherwise the people who are listening to you won't be interested in like listening to it, because they need to feed off you and you feed off them. It's that thing, isn't it? When you're playing live, you have that kind of symbiosis, so you kind of feed off each other's energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when you've got really heavy riffs, really heavy drum beats, it really helps.
yeah. I can see that. It is interesting though, because most of the bands I've talked to really, as I said to me, they really dislike the whole genre thing of having to pigeonhole themselves into a specific genre, because one day you write a song which might well be sort of the heaviest thing you've ever heard. The next day you might want to write a power ballad. It's kind of like you could, if you're not careful, you get to a point where you can't do certain things that you want to do because of the fact you kind of pigeonhole yourself into a corner.
I think we certainly felt like that way back when we started, and it was like an ongoing thing of what's our genre, what's our sound. And we've kind of got to the point where it's like, we can be post-hardcore, we can be metalcore, we can be soft rock if we want to be. You can be in a numerous genres. You don't have to label yourself as something. You can, I mean, our songs, there's bits of them that are, you're like, yeah, that's definitely metalcore, and then the chorus is pop punk, and then we've got one recently that we've written, and the chorus, the end chorus sounds like Coldplay almost. It's like whatever you feel you do, that's how we've kind of got to this point.
I think it works better that way, because I think the thing about it is that we've gone a long way past the whole thing of like, people like such a variety of music now, where you're going to pick up people who like whatever you play, and hopefully they'll stick with you because they like what you're doing and they come and see your band, So what about more music coming out? Have you got more songs that are going to be put out, or is it going to be more singles, EPs, or what?
I think we're planning on an EP, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'd say that the past year we've tried to. Well, we've got two new members, the guitarist and the bassist. So we've, I suppose, put a pause on writing, playing gigs because we want to make sure that that gel period happens. And it definitely has, and we're all clicking really well. We've got, I think, 4 or 5 new songs written in the past 6 months, say. And we're just trying to pick out which ones we want to record, like a 3 or a 4-track EP. And that's, we're hoping in the next 2 months we'll sort of get something recorded and out there. It's just how many we can.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming you after that you'll be gigging to kind of promote that and
Yeah,
back out there playing live everywhere.
Yeah, because we had a body of work that we've had for years and years and years with the original lineup. So it's nice now, that feeling of being able to go out on stage and have an entirely almost new set. It's really exciting for us to see what people's reactions be, because it is very different. It is very, very different from what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, have you been able to get any kind of airplay anywhere, radio or anywhere like that at all?
It's not really been our focus as such.
Okay.
Motion side, I think mostly because of the lineup change. We've been focusing on other elements of the band first, and we eventually will start trying to push the tracks out. I remember, we've had people do reactions on YouTube to our songs that are currently released, and they're really interesting to watch, actually. But in terms of pushing to radio stations, we haven't really done that so much, just because of the situation there's been in the last year or so.
Yeah,
and I think we probably will eventually. As I say, like the 2 songs that we've got on Spotify are with the old sort of the lineup, and we want to put our new sound out there rather than trying to plug the old sound.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And I mean, the places you've been playing are places that are not, they're places that people know, that, and if people go there to see bands and they'll know the name. So once you get the name around a bit, once with the new material, hopefully they go, oh, I remember seeing them, and it sort of picks up again quite rapidly. I think if you can do that. Have you thought about moving further out, sort of like doing further afield gigs at all, up and down the country or anything?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've certainly considered more and more. Sort of in recent times, initially it was just convenient for us to play around London because it was kind of handy for all of us. We're all in the same area, and getting around London is far easier. But yeah, of course, we want to go to maybe Norwich or Brighton or places like that,
Birmingham, and
and just try.
It's interesting. I think that there seems to be a thing at the moment where there are a lot of bands, especially rock bands and punk pop bands and people like that, who are they're moving away from the whole online stuff again, and they're moving back to the idea of getting in a van and going up and down the country and doing small gigs, and doing small tours and things like that. So it's very interesting. They're going back almost to the way it was in the sort of like 60s and 70s, which is like slogging up and down the motorways rather than doing everything online. Because I think the problem, is that the online stuff seems to be the people online seem to be obsessed with the whole pop thing, and a lot of the time the rock bands get overlooked.
Yeah, they do. It's kind of, I mean, even when I was at school, it wasn't really cool to like rock music, necessarily. Although it was bigger back then, it's never really, you kind of like alternative culture, aren't you? But I think ever since COVID happened, people are wanting to go and see live things, be it music, be it football, be it theatres and musicals. People want to go live stuff more and more because they realize what it was like to not have that, and so there's more people definitely going to see anything that's live now.
And social media. So, and social media is almost a full-time job in itself.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I think you almost need to have a social media secretary to kind of deal with all of the online stuff. And you know, people don't have all the time that they used to have for that sort of thing. It's hard enough trying to book gigs sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
So, do you have a kind of a sort of glorious 10-year plan of where you want to see the band be, or do you sort of like, are you playing it year by year, taking it as it comes?
Yeah, I think we're definitely consciously a year by year take it as it comes band, but I don't think we'd deny having ambitions of obviously playing certain venues, festivals. You know, like Brixton Academy. I think would for all three of us be an absolute dream to play, or even just you know, and or like download festival, things like that. So obviously we dream like that. I think we're very practical in how and realistic. We try and stay grounded, you know, and not try and push ourselves too far or too hard.
I think it's one of the things that the last 2 or 3 years have taught us, if anything, is that at any moment something can come along and get in the way of whatever plans you've made. So you got to kind of try and keep it realistic and not aim too high too quickly.
Yeah, and we're definitely not a sort of early 20-year-old band. Like we're getting on, you know, and we've all got jobs, and then when we try to do practice, which we try to do as frequently as possible, but that sort of time left for any sort of social media maintenance or looking for gigs is so far away.
And you've got to have a social life and a home life as well, you know. It's like
exactly,
yeah, especially with kids and and stuff.
Baby on the way.
So, have you got any gigs lined up at the moment in the next sort of like 2 or 3 months that you can tell us about?
Not at the moment. We're kind of booking stuff, looking to book stuff anyway. We have got a couple of things for later on in the year, later on in the year. But we are looking to sort of, once we've done this EP, then we'll start looking to gig. You know, that kind of take it one thing at a time, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, have you got a sort of rough time scale of when you'd like to have the EP done and out?
Months, I'd say. Next couple of months, definitely.
Early summer.
I think. I was going to say, like, sort of by the end of April, I'd like to think that we've got a good EP out. And then I think, as sort of spring turns into summer, that's when we'll start hopefully booking up a lot of gigs here, there, everywhere, and
see if you can get some open air festivals in the summer. That's always good fun.
It's nice.
We'll still have a connection with there's a tattoo festival, a UK tattoo festival that's held in the Milton Keynes conference.
All right.
It's a huge event, and we were scheduled to play both Saturday and Sunday about 2-3 years ago, just before the pandemic. So that cancelled everything. So unfortunately, we couldn't play that, but we've still got the connection there. I'm hoping to play, with them.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's good. Cool. Yeah, that's very good. You get a good bit of coverage there. I would imagine there's normally lots of press and media there. Places like that.
Same. Oh, and Chinnery's as well in Southend. That's well known.
I noticed you play Chinnery's. It's interesting. I always keep an eye on Chinnery's because it's because I live in Rainham in Essex, and I keep an eye on Chinnery's because it's a place that I know lots of people go. There's a lot of people I know who go there irregularly, but so I always keep an eye on what's going on there, what bands are playing there, and that sort of thing. I think that's probably where I found your name. Actually, it's sort of like I look through every now and again and see what bands are playing there and have played there recently, and think, oh, what's there? What are they doing? And then have a listen to their music and go, oh yeah, okay,
Iconic places. I mean, Funeral for a Friend played there. Loads of big bands. Skindred played there. For a small-ish venue, it gets some really big bands. It really does. So
it's interesting because you get you get small local bands playing there, and then, as you say, you get quite big name bands playing there as well. And you kind of, it's quite an odd situation. You don't get that in many places, especially not outside of central London.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Essex, there's no big, venue. I suppose Colchester Arts Centre is probably the biggest, but no big bands really come to Essex.
It used to be back in my day when I was younger. It used to be the Windmill.
Oh yeah.
In Colchester. I don't know if that's still going even.
I think it is.
For me, it's where it's which is definitely closed down.
Yeah.
That was an odd place because you used to have bands. You used to have people on there. We used to go there on a Monday night to play with bands and to watch bands. And on the Saturday and Sunday, they used to have people like Chad and Dave and people like that. And you go there on the Monday, and there'd still be things left on the stage or posters up for Chad and Dave or Jim Davidson or somebody like that. It was really bizarre. It's a good place, that was. Well, I wish you all the best of luck with everything, to be honest, because I do like your sound. I'd like to hear, I want to hear your new stuff and see what sort of stuff you're doing now. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully maybe at some point I can come along and see you live, because that's, to me, I think there aren't many bands that I've ever come across that don't sound better live than they do in the studio, because of the fact you've got that energy and that, urgency of playing on stage, and it makes everything just sound so and feel so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you so much,
thank you very much
for speaking to us. It's been a really nice chat.
No, it's good to speak to you, and it's good to say, it's always good to talk to new bands and to talk to bands that are trying to push themselves and come out and do stuff. One thing I do want to ask, because I get fascinated by this, I have a bit of a weird thing, which is the fact that I'm fascinated by words and phrases.
Okay.
So the thing that I have to do every time I talk to any band is ask where the name came from, because it gets in my head.
What name meaning is it?
It's kind of a weird one. I kind of came up with it when I was, I think, about 16 or 15. And it doesn't have any meaning. It just sounded kind of cool. I think that was literally it. And then I never got to use it. And then when we made this band, I was like, yeah, that name, yeah, let's use that.
It's a good name. I really like the name. It's quite odd, because my problem is, for some reason, I have a slight blank thing with it, which is when I was talking to a friend of mine, I was saying about who I was going to be interviewing for the new series. I keep saying hunting for wolves, not hunting with wolves. No, hunting with wolves, or not hunting for wolves. And I don't know why that is. I've got this blank thing that I keep getting the wrong word in the middle.
It's because there's that film Dancing with Wolves, isn't there?
Yeah, probably. But it is a good name, and I like your logo for it and that as well. So it's looking really good. So thank you very much for being on the show. It's been really good talking to you. I hope everything goes well. Everybody watching, I will put links up to Hunting for Wolves YouTube channel and to Spotify and all that kind of thing, and their social media. So check them out and check out if they're going to be playing near you or playing somewhere you can go and see them soon. And we hope to hear more from you guys very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Thank you. Bye.